absolutely ridiculous. They'll believe anything. They'll believe anything. No idea. Right, so this is going to be our second one. 没想法, like
没想法.
second little, hopefully short video. We're just going to show something that doesn't make sense to people. And actually, I want to show you a video where someone else is talking about no idea. That's something that doesn't make sense to them, right? So let's watch it, and then everybody else can see, and then we'll have a discussion. All right, here it comes.
Next, we're moving on to Dr. Doshi. I've got a quick run and vote, so I'll turn it over to you for the next few minutes.
Thank you, Senator, for hosting all of us. Hello, I'm Peter Doshi. For identification purposes, I'm on the faculty at the University of Maryland and editor at the BMJ. I have no relevant conflicts of interest, and my comments today are my own. In pharmacy school, I teach a required course on how to critically appraise the medical literature. We train students on how to go beyond a study abstract and start to pick apart and critically assess biomedical studies, not just take them at face value. I want to use my 5 minutes here to harness that spirit of critical thinking. I'm saddened that we are supersaturated as a society right now in the attitude of everybody knows that has shut down intellectual curiosity and led to self-censorship. So let me start with a few everybody knows examples that I'm not sure we should be so certain about. Everybody knows that this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. But if hospitalizations and deaths were almost exclusively occurring in the unvaccinated, why would booster shots be necessary? Or why would the statistics be so different in the UK, where most COVID hospitalizations and deaths are among the fully vaccinated, as Senator Johnson said? There's a disconnect there. There's something to be curious about. There's something not adding up, and we should all be asking, is it true that this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated? What does that even mean? Next slide, please. Then there's this. Everybody knows that COVID vaccines save lives. In fact, we've known this from early 2021. The clinical trials proved that to be the case, as you can see here in the quote of a February article in the Journal of the American Medical Association. But is it true? When that statement by prominent public health officials was penned, there had been just one death across the 70,000 Pfizer and Moderna trial participants. Today we have more data, and you can see that there were similar numbers of deaths in the vaccine and placebo groups. The trials did not show a reduction in death. Even for COVID deaths, as opposed to other causes, the evidence is flimsy, with just 2 deaths in the placebo group versus 1 in the vaccine group. My point is not that I know the truth about what the vaccine can and cannot do. My point is that those who claimed the trials showed the vaccines were highly effective in saving lives were wrong. The trials did not demonstrate this. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about anti-vaxxers. Everybody knows you should discount what anti-vaxxers have to say. But what does the term mean? The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines it as, quote, a person who opposes the use of vaccines or regulations mandating vaccination. The first part of the definition, I expected. The second part stunned me. There are entire countries from the United Kingdom to Japan which do not mandate childhood vaccines. Both achieve high levels of vaccination, just not through regulations mandating vaccines. There are no mandates there, and I would wager that a large minority, perhaps a majority of the world's population meets the definition here of an anti-vaxxer. Another definition worth checking is vaccine. Next slide, please. I am one of the academics that argues that these mRNA products, which everybody calls vaccines, are qualitatively different than standard vaccines. And so I found it fascinating to learn that Merriam-Webster changed its definition of vaccine early this year. mRNA products did not meet the definition of vaccine that has been in place for 15 years at Merriam-Webster, but the definition was expanded such that mRNA products are now vaccines. I highlight this to ask a question. How would you feel about mandating COVID vaccines if we didn't call them vaccines? What if these injections were called drugs instead? So here's the scenario. We have this drug, and we have evidence that it doesn't prevent infection, nor does it stop viral transmission. But the drug is understood to reduce your risk of becoming very sick and dying of COVID. Would you take a dose of this drug every 6 months or so for possibly the rest of your life? If that's what it took for the drug to stay effective? Would you not just take this drug yourself, but support regulations mandating that everybody else around you take this drug? Or would you say, hold on a sec. Maybe you'd say that if that's all the drug does, why not use a normal medicine instead? The kind we take when we're sick and want to get better. And why would you mandate it? The point is, just because we call it a vaccine doesn't mean we should assume these new products are just like all other childhood vaccines which get mandated. Each product is a different product, and if people are okay with mandating something simply because it's a vaccine and we mandate other vaccines, so why shouldn't we mandate this? I think it's time to inject some critical thinking into that conversation, and that is what I hope we're doing today. Thank you.
That's the language is power.
Yeah.
Because people already believe vaccine is like a good term, good word, and it's like help people to get rid of the disease.
Sure.
People have the strong beliefs to the vaccine. So now, right, the COVID vaccine sneakily just say they are vaccines, so people will already have a basic imagination about
what it is. Sure.
Yeah, of what it is.
Sure. But I've been saying this like for a long time now. Once they started saying, look, you were, like in the beginning they said you won't get sick, then they changed it, then they said, you won't spread it, then they changed it, and then they just said symptoms. And I thought to myself at that point, well, what do you call some kind of medicine that treats your symptoms? Isn't it called a treatment?
Yeah.
I always thought my whole life that a vaccine was something that stopped you from getting sick. But then I look around at the world and I don't see many other people thinking about that, right?
Yeah.
Like your whole life you thought vaccine was one thing. Now they change it. Okay. Really seems strange. But I also just want to just say that, look, that's a video that I've seen. We're not endorsing that video or saying anything or giving any kind of advice. We have to keep saying this all the time because that's your business with your doctor. We're just pointing out some things that just don't seem to make sense. That guy was doing the same thing. Like, why would you change the dictionary definition of something? Yeah, it's like, here's a thing, and you know it, and someone says, no, but come on, dude, logic, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, don't worry, we changed the definition. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's definitely a no idea, right? Changing the definition.
Yeah, and why they think they have to do this?
Sure, and I didn't even know you could do this. So it's like, so that means anything these people want to say, they could just change definitions whenever they want, and we must just believe them.
Oh, like in Chinese we call like 就是先射箭再画靶，就是 like you have a sport like use the arrow, you know, you shoot it at first, and when it's already on the walls and you draw the
you draw the target after.
You draw a target. So
Yeah.
I feel like.
So I mean,
like
is that an old thing in Chinese? I think so, probably like an
the phrase.
idiom or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that means then that people have known this is a stupid thing to do for a very, very long time, right? You don't change the definition to suit what you want.
Yes.
Again, really, that's absolutely no idea. And he made another interesting point there, is like talking about like mandating vaccines, because then the definition there was like, didn't make sense because there are lots of countries that don't mandate vaccines. So there are some that do. When you're a kid, you have to have them. But then, as he said, there are some countries where you don't have to have them. But even in those countries, the vaccination rates are still high.
Yeah.
So, but then why make the dictionary definition of an anti-vaxxer, you know, anyone who doesn't believe that, because there are so many people in the world then who are now anti-vaxxers who aren't. They just don't think it needs to be a regulation. So using words, right, to divide people, right?
Oh my God, change the word, change the dictionary and the meaning. Remind me.
And think about it. Who in the world today is okay being called an anti-vaxxer? Nobody. Because this word has got such a connotation and a meaning to it. But lots of people are not anti-vaccine. They might just be anti these
Only
vaccines.
these.
Yeah. Sure,
vaccines.
right? Or they're anti the mandates.
Yeah, that's our choice. You don't have, government shouldn't force us.
Yeah. But if you live in a country that doesn't mandate vaccines, are you then anti-mandate? No, it's just where you live. But then they create some new word, right?
Because they already knew like anti-vaccines, anti-vaxxers. It's like more like a negative.
Yeah, it's a bad word.
It's bad words. So he tried to use this word to like label them.
Manipulate people. Because most people don't want to stand out, and if now you say you're going to be called that name, that's like disincentive. It's like making someone say, right, I'm going to do whatever I can to not have that label attached to me. And that's why you see so many people, myself included, you have to start a conversation and you have to say, listen, I'm not anti-vaccine. Like, I just have an issue here or there.
Yeah.
But the fact is that you have to now start every conversation with almost like a warning. Why? Because you know what they're doing, and you know that they're putting these labels out there, and you have to do your best to avoid it and still be able to have an opinion.
And you have to set it in at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Because when you go through your speech, all the anti-vaccines, when the label puts on you, lots of people were lazy and then now to understand more. So
sure. And a little challenge I would give anybody is try to find out where the words conspiracy theory came from. Do a search, however, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
I don't know, like
I think it was made by the CIA.
Oh.
I think you can search. From the last time I looked at it, it was a term made by the CIA, right? Because if you think about it, it's perfect. Anybody who doesn't believe the official story, you just say, conspiracy theorist. Then what happens? Then anybody who listens to that person, and someone's now called him a conspiracy theorist, even if the guy's got great facts, great research, great logic, they just completely discount all of his information because he's got the label conspiracy theorist. It's genius.
Yeah, it's smart.
Yeah. So, and then if you want to believe that guy, now they say, you just believe the conspiracy theorist. No, okay, I don't really believe him. Now you're going to go back.
Yeah.
It's manipulating people.
Oh.
Through labels.
Through labels, yes. And think about who is the author, who write the Wikipedia and the dictionary definition.
Well, that's another one I would challenge people. Have a look at Wikipedia, try and do a bit of digging, and I'm not going to tell you what you'll find. You find it out for yourself. But I would definitely say in today's world, you cannot truly trust a lot of the stuff on Wikipedia.
Yeah. Before we think Wikipedia is like almost like 100% of the truth, but think about it, who added that, the thing. And the word dictionary. I'm struggle with that. The definition changed. Reminds me about 1984.
Yes, exactly.
They changed the words to that to change people's feeling about the meaning of the word.
Sure. Another challenge. Read 1984. Really.
Lots of homework, right?
If you haven't read 1984, do yourselves a favor and read that book. How do you say it in Chinese? These are the numbers.
Just numbers.
Yeah.
1984.
Do yourself a favor and read that. Or what's the other one? A Brave New World.
就是 美丽新世界，就这两本都在讲共产的东西，就是 communist talk about communist idea. I think
it's about partly about communism. I think more just about like how technology is going to be used to control people.
Oh, right.
And you can see it here because everybody goes online to check the dictionary. Will you know that the definition changed? No.
No.
Unless you're older. But if you're not, you won't know that it changed. Who gave these people the right to change words? Was there like who gave them that right? Honestly, because they just seem to change the word to fit the situation for themselves. But do we agree with that? Was there some kind of a debate about that? No, they just put it in there. And then you just get so many people who are scared to have the label attached to them, so they'll just push away from it. And if you think about it, that's the perfect tool to manipulate people.
Label.
Yeah, labels. The power of words. And as you said, that's what they did in 1984. They're very worried about words because they know that words have power.
Yeah, words have power. So they will rewrite the newspaper, the history, and change the dictionary.
Change the definition of words, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're living in it. If you ever need proof that you're being manipulated, that's one. Changing the definition of words. Right.
Oh my God.
Interesting, right?
Cool, cool,
So
cool.
let's
And
move
we
on.
have lots of homeworks, right?
Yes.
Like one reading 2 novels, 1984, and Brave New World, and
Check the definition
Check
of conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the third one,
What was the other one?
check who's the
Oh, check Wikipedia.
editor. Yes.
Yeah, and have a
Who
look at how
edited
that all works.
Wikipedia?
Yeah. All right, good. Let's move on to our next segment.
Yeah, good.